Namo Pho, Namo Fa, Namo Seng. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. Today we will see the section 22 of The Art of Keeping the Light, section 35 of the original booklet. It is called Zen is Buddha Recitation. Of course, here Zen is intended as Chan in its original sense. But Zen now is the international word to talk about this particular style, school of Buddhist practice. And Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese are all called Zen. So it's called Zen is Buddha Recitation. And we've seen that all the other sections of this booklet helped us see that understanding this practice and practicing Buddha recitation can be of a great help to our Zen practice, especially as a basis for concentration. Zen is known as concentration and observation in equilibrium, in harmony. It is a one practice school in the sense of Chinese Buddhism, which always tries to put forward which practice is the one true practice, not in the sectarian sense, as sometimes seen in some Japanese schools, but what kind of practice embodies better the actual harmony between a concentration practice, shamatha, and an observation practice, vipassana. All these kinds of practice must lead to samadhi, which is a non-egotic state, non-egotic awareness. There is no differentiation between the one who's seeing and what is seen, the one who's practicing and the practice. And samadhi, in traditional Mahayana teachings, gives birth to prajna. Different schools of Mahayana Buddhism emphasize their own kind of concentration, shamatha, observation, vipassana, their own kind of samadhi, their own kind of prajna. Since the sixth patriarch of Chan, of Zen, as it is very clearly stated in his Platform Sutra, which is so important to us, we consider sila, which is discipline, the precepts, and the way in which we try to act, to manifest through our actions, prajna. And prajna is seen as not the consequence of samadhi, but is equated with samadhi, which means that when one is in samadhi, which is another way to say Zen, or Zen is another way to say samadhi, prajna is directly present naturally, and then there is no need to make the difference between the two. To enter Zen, to enter that natural state of us, which isn't a state at all. The Zen school uses different methods, and in China, the majority of the different Chan schools existing are of the Linji or Rinzai in Japanese type. Their main practice can be very different because a lot of practices can be used to actually ground concentration. But all these practices of concentration aren't the art of Zen. The art of Zen is attention. It is actually equilibrium, harmony between being concentrated and seeing. So for this meditation based on a koan is called koan meditation. I'm reading the text now. Meditation in which the practitioner sits and stops the thought process is referred to as sitting meditation. So this kind of sitting meditation, literally Dzogchen, yet the type of sitting meditation the text is pointing to here is silent sitting, the method of which was originally from the Cao Tung or Soto in Japanese school. The two types of practices can be practiced by a Linji practitioner. That's the openness of Chinese Buddhism. Any type of practice can be used if it is given by a teacher that has practiced it in some ways or another. There is a great deal of knowing that all kinds of Buddha practices can help us in our path and not making differences between the different practices as a mean to oneness, to one-pointedness. So the text goes on. Koan and sitting meditation are both Zen. They mean that they are different. What they point to as koan meditation here is meditation based on a koan, which is a talk between generally a teacher and a student, an historical case. At the heart of these exchanges, generally there is what is called a huatu, something that is before thought, before mind. That's what the koan is pointing to. And in Chan Buddhism, the Kanwa or Goan style of practice in the Linji school is mostly Huatu practice. Huatu are existential questions like, who is it who is listening right now? Or what is this? They are done to use doubt, existential doubt. So any question that brings an existential questioning, allowing us to turn the light around on our own minds, can be considered and used as a huatu. The text goes on saying, Zen is the Zen of Buddha. Originally, the word Zen comes from jhana. Jhana. There are actually many forms of jhana. Form jhana, formless jhanas. The most advanced form of jhana is sometimes called jhana samadhi. And this is thought to be the samadhi of Zen school, the samadhi of a mind that encompasses great equanimity, a mind that is and isn't, a paradoxical mind, an intuitive mind, an open mind. There are a lot of words, and not a single one will fit. So they are pointing to the fact that the kind of Zen we are talking about, despite the fact that there can be many methods, there is only one Zen, and that this Zen was the Zen of Buddha. And Buddha is the Buddha in Zen. The Buddha is the one who is enlightened, who can shed light in his own darkness. And this is exactly what Zen is for. So we can say that the one who sheds light through the Zen technique is a Buddha, just like in any Buddhist school. The text goes on saying, Buddha recitation does not conflict with koan or sitting meditation. So it says that, and it's true in Chinese Buddhism, especially in our lineage, Buddha recitation doesn't enter into conflict with any kind of Chan method we could use to enter samadhi. May it be Hua Tu or Mo Chao Chan, just sitting Chan, just listening Chan. The text goes on, moreover, the meditator can use the words Amitofo in the text Buddha Amitabha as a Hua Tu, reciting forward, reciting backward, reciting in one direction, reciting in another, upside down, turning around, without leaving his current thought. Even if it is not called Zen, Zen is still part of it. So the text goes on saying, okay, you can actually use the recitation practice as a basis for Zen practice, especially the Huatu practice. And of course, it is of no surprise to us because Master Shuyun, which is a very great figure in modern Chinese Buddhism and in our lineage, used to advocate as a gate to practice Chan, the Huatu who is recitating the Buddha's name. And of course, that's because most people used to, for devotional reasons and also for concentration purposes, in a very traditional Mayan way, use the practice of Buddha recitation, especially the Buddha Amitabha, as they did daily practice. And you've got to root your Zen practice in your life, in your real practice, in what you really do. Trying to work for a retreat, say for 2 weeks on the koan, you can't rely to anything, isn't our style of practice. So they are saying that if you recite such a Buddha's name like Amitabha Buddha as a koan, as a Huatu, you can also recite it just as another Huatu in an existential way, to really look into yourself, truly, seriously. The text points to it when it says, reciting forward, backward, in one direction, in another, upside down, turning around. That's exactly how we work with the Huatu. And the text says, without leaving his current thought. That means that not a single thought other than the Huatu, other than the Buddha's name, arises. And that's what is common between the two practices, is to use a certain thought, to go beyond thought, to go before thought, to express our true mind. So the traditional Huatu method can begin, and generally begins, with the establishment of simple recitation as a concentration practice. Maybe the second step into it is a kind of intellectual kind of asking. One can ask who is recitating, or just keep a sense of asking when reciting simply the Buddha's name, internally asking who is recitating. But it is very intellectual at first. Maybe a third stage is to really bring the Huatu, the question, that inner looking, bringing it to every situation. That's when the work is serious, when there is a kind of inner doubt, inner looking that is present. And true action of our daily life, and that's the traceless manifestation of it. Then we can really manifest the fact that every situation is a pure land. Every act is the act of a Buddha. Just like in the sitting meditation method, which is traditional in Chan, the text says sitting and stopping, and that's not for nothing. It is because generally retreats in that style of practice are done partly with sitting practice, and just as we do in our school, we sit just as long as we walk, because this second type of practice is walking practice. And from time to time someone hits a stick on the ground and you just stop. That type of practice is also done to not leave a single thought. And it's actually used also by people, especially in the lineage of Master Shun, by people using Huatu, and by people using a Buddha's name as a Huatu. So the text goes on saying, the Zen practitioner, to succeed in his cultivation, must practice to the stage of one thought in resonance with mind, which is samadhi. I talked about keeping the Huatu in every situation, and just the Huatu. This is the same kind of practice. And actually, that kind of practice, one thought in resonance with mind, which is just another word for samadhi, really, is a consequence of a right practice that can be used with any particular technique. I mean, breath concentration, Buddha's name recitation, visualization, any kind of Buddhist practice actually leads to samadhi. The text goes on saying, and then enter suddenly into the realm of emptiness. And that's really the whole point of it. And emptiness has many tastes in our practice. There is apparent emptiness, be calm. There is emptiness without forms and substance, emptiness of emptiness, and beyond. And actually, the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, in Kuan Yin, or Kanon in Japanese, in the Shurangama Sutra, points to that. And we will see that in detail later on. But anyway, to recite the Buddha's name, says the text, to the level of one-pointedness of mind, if it is not resonance or samadhi, what else can it be? To recite to the point where the mind is empty, is it not perpetual samadhi, natural samadhi, vast samadhi? Again, be attentive to one thing. The text is right, but as often we tend to go too quick and to take the great wisdom of the Buddhas and the Patriarch for our own just because we think we understand it by reading it. The one-pointedness of mind, the emptiness of mind that we are pointing to here, must not be created. Cultivating an empty mind for an empty mind, cultivating a mind without thoughts, by tension, by wanting it, trying to start with an empty mind is the wrong way. It is cultivating an empty cave, as the Taoist masters used to say. So it must be a natural consequence of the practice, not something you try to push on it. You don't have to clean the surface of the mind. That's the whole point of Huineng's teaching. So the text goes on saying, in alert, focused Buddha recitation, there is shamatha, there is vipassana, there is samadhi, there is wisdom. Each recitation is perfect. Where else can Zen be found, if not here? That's why I introduced Zen as being shamatha and vipassana in harmony, samadhi and wisdom as one. Because here the text says, okay, but Buddha recitation also contains it. And of course it does. And it shows us Zen doesn't cultivate any particular method. It is a point of view, a way of practicing, a way of understanding, more than a type of practice. And when only one thought is kept, and mind goes beyond mind and beyond emptiness of mind itself, then concentration, observation, resonance or samadhi, and wisdom are just one. And if we leave it there, would it be entirely Zen? And that's my critique of it, is that the specificity of the Zen view is not in its practice, as I said earlier, but the difference between Zen and other schools is that the samadhi obtained may be exactly the same, but the whole point of Zen is not just the obtention of samadhi, is not just oneness, being up the mountain one with the universe. It is actually to get back to the world, to get back to the marketplace, to get down the mountain and act upon the understanding, act upon the samadhi and wisdom, which is the consequence of right practice, to try to manifest our very Buddha nature in this world through our actions. Amitofo.